Today's match brought to you in proud sponsorship with Bar Pro League Round 6, or Season 6 rather, which the qualifiers are officially open for, and the link for which will be down below in the description section. Go check it out if you're interested in the toppest tier of 1v1 gameplay. Pretty much the exact opposite of what we're going to be taking a look at here today. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're going to be celebrating the 50k event, taking a look at some of the games that happened, including one that was played quite recently here between all the developers, or just about every one of the developers, about as many as we could cram into one game, and a whole bunch of players who get to take out their sweet vengeful retributions against these commanders that have decided the pace of the game and how broken or unbroken each of these units shall be. Today's match is going to be a 33 versus 33 66 commander total smackdown between two different teams going for each other's throats. And obviously, we're going to be here for fun. There's not a lot we can do about how incredibly all over the place this match is going to be, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the shenanigans that are doubtlessly going to unfold here. Now, already the red team here, spawning on the southern side, going to be our official, our developer team. I guess I'm trying to think of a team name for them. DevOps, the developer team right here in red on the southern side here of a very familiar map I'm sure we're all very well aware of, a map that goes by the name of All That Glitters. If you haven't seen All That Glitters before, welcome to Beyond All Reason, I guess is probably what I should be saying. Yeah, All That Glitters is pretty much a staple for this game. If you haven't played it before, you will play it at some point, and if you manage to avoid it, then kudos to you. It's a tremendous achievement. The red commanders here are going to be playing on the southern side, showing us if that developer skill, or that developer, the skill of development translates to that gameplay here. On the northern side, we have all of our players spawning in various shades of blues and purples and cyans and greens and all sorts of stuff like that. There's a couple of pinks mixed into the mix here as well, and some very red-ish purples, but assuredly, those are all going to be blues. There's also some pinks on the red team, as you can see. It's going to get very confusing very quickly. So we're just going to sit back and enjoy watching these units go to town on each other, as we've got a couple of goblins making their way across the map here and trying to, blast apart any of these early metal extractors that they can find. Obviously, these matches, if you've never played in one before, I definitely recommend checking out the live stream, which is where we will be covering the Bar Pro League qualifiers. In fact, it's where we'll be covering basically everything. I was thinking if there was any other events, but yeah, for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be streaming on my channel, so feel free to check those out. There's always a link to those down below in the description section. You can go check that out if you'd like to join us. It's also an excellent spot in case you're interested in playing some of these ridiculous, multiple dozens of Commander games. We do play these almost all the time. Pretty much whenever we can get a developer to help us out. They're almost always more than willing to, put together a really large team game, which is a lot of fun. Ooh, bombers coming across right here from the developer team. Find some wind turbines and take him out right here for this commander on the front line. I guess we can exit our spectator mode. Hiding the player list here, because if I didn't, it would be basically up to the top of the screen, so instead we're going to go ahead and tuck that away. A lot of people ask me about that. It's in your widget menu here. It's called Advanced Player List. You just go ahead and toggle this on and off, and you can see there's all of our developers right there. I'll give you a second to take a look at all the developers, and then we'll switch on over to the blue team here. Maybe this looks a little bit better, and we can see all of the players that are going to be playing against our developer team, but there we go. We're going to go ahead and turn that back off. So we have a little bit more screen real estate as we move into this game. Already a wonderful snipe right here from a whole bunch of Janus that were rushed out by the blue commanders. Teriyaki Tylo, Old Man Young, Autopilot, a bunch of familiar faces, some pro players showing us the frontline strats here is just to go for the heaviest hitting, hardest demolishing unit in the game, at least in the T1 early game. It's of course going to be none other than the Janus, pretty much the bane of any commander on the front line. As we can see, already one of these bad boys lying in ruin on the front. Meanwhile, heavy laser turret set up right here. A little bit of pressure being applied as we move the heavy laser turret forward. Likewise on this other side here, Huck 123 has moved forward with a couple of these maces, the plasma sluggers, plasma chuckers, as they do retreat. Legion, of course, enabled in all of these games as well for basically every match in the 50k event, so it does mean that we will see them here and there throughout this game. We've already seen some goblins. I wouldn't be surprised if we see, there's some ballista on the field, some other T2 Legion units sure to come out eventually as well. There's a lot of powerful options out of the T2. Ooh, laboratory. Alright, 1, 2, 3 commanders go down in a fiery explosion, cracking open the front line. Hey, not bad. Heavy laser tower crawl. I kind of love it.
Commander self-destructed.
Transports. Transports moving in with, what are these, tanks here? Trying to see. Oh, they're Januses. Oh, how cheeky is that? Okay. Oh, another commander is sniped with them. Okay. Well, what a cheeky strategy indeed. The commanders, or the developers rather, definitely with a plan in mind, as suddenly all these blue commanders on the left-hand side are crumbled. The idea clearly being to try and crack this defense before there's an opportunity for them to really make too much out of it. Sending units forward, doing all that good stuff. We do have T2 in the backline here. Looks like Stormfire and Shadow Whisper and some others are all going for eco right here, rather than going for units on the front. But that T2 obviously provides a lot of metal, and more metal means more units. More units, more fun. You know what the Bright Work says, more metal. No, more mechs is more metal, more fun. That's the saying. Can't even remember my own saying. There we go. I'm patenting it. You're welcome.
Commander has died.
Another big commander kill over here. It looks like the Janus drops are tremendously successful. I love this. What a cheeky little play. Ooh, that one will go down though. The transports, yeah, shot down by those missile trucks here. But how hilarious is that? Yeah, dropping Januses from the high heavens onto commanders. It only takes like 4 or 5 of them to fire away to commander. Depends on how good your surround is and if they're partially damaged beforehand. Those Januses do so much, just a stupid amount of damage, like ridiculous amount of damage. It kind of makes perfect sense. Cacophony heavy land and air defense turret here has been set up. We have the hail of bullets now spewing outwards here. I guess it's not really bullets. Like, if you really take a good look, it's more like really, really tiny Gauss particles being flung across here, but they hurt pretty bad still. We can pretend they're bullets, alright. Bullets don't have tracers like that, so that's what convinces me that it must be a Gauss weapon. Most of the Gauss weapons, when they move super fast, they shed some of that plasma coating on the outside, keeping the condensed matter held together. Once that sheds away, it creates an explosion as it all just overcomes itself. You'll notice the faint spark of a Gauss projectile here as well as these projectiles hit. So yeah, pretty convinced that that's a Gauss weapon. Wouldn't really make sense for it to be a bullet. Where would the bullets be coming from? I suppose we can materialize metal out of thin air, so maybe it really isn't worth thinking about. Maybe it is entirely possible. Just like the Doomslayer's guns. I've heard that's how those work as well. They just teleport the bullets directly into the gun. An elegant solution, certainly. Gotta give it to the developers, though, for an aggressive push. Meanwhile, though, hey, you know what? We actually have a pretty solid push on this side as well. Gunslinger is out. It's gonna be, I like it. It's nice. It's good against the T1, of course. But this is a very tight choke point. If there's ever an area where T1 might be able to get an edge up against T2, it's gonna be in a tight choke point like this, where they have all the room in the world to fire. Well, really, it's all, in fact, there's no room to maneuver, so firing only has to happen in one direction. Gunslingers require so heavily kiting. Yeah. Without the room to really walk around properly, these gunslingers are having a really hard time dealing with all this. Obviously, pulling him back and repairing him is not a bad idea, but it does take time. And time is kind of the essence at the moment, as the left side is crumbling. A little counterattack here does manage to push back some of these units here, but it's really only a moment in time before the red forces carry on forward again. Rocket bots moving forward as well. We have an E-Storage actually set up for Ender Robo. Only 98 energy production, but has a bunch from the team here. Effectively just microing units, not worried about the economy. Yeah, just overflowing metal left, right, and center. We do have production. Oh, actually, we are going for eco. Oh, cheeky, cheeky. We are actually going to be going for a fusion reactor here. So we've got the T2 lab and we've got the fusion reactor. It's time to start ecoing up, I suppose, for the red commanders. We do have T2 bots rolling into the backline right now. I don't know why I'm selecting this player like it's going to pop up over here. Fouquet, the seafoam powder-ish blue commander here on the left-hand side, sending out some of those T2 units. Good stuff. Arbiter is going to be made in mass here to try and fire up and over the hills and into the composition right now. The blue commander's on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, the pink commander does go down to a whole bunch of those Karkinos as well as some of those ballista, long-range medium rocket bots, and the skirmisher dual weapon, what is it? Medium dual weapon infantry bot. Something like a Centurion if it had a shotgun and a laser instead of 2 lasers and no shotgun. This bot tried its best to reclaim a whole bunch of this. We do have goblins moving in to meet their older brothers, the Lobbers, aka the Satyr. They've been renamed, but I still cling tightly to their beloved past name. Their new name, definitely much more on brand. Their old name, much funnier. Always difficult to find the compromise between those two. Tsar now on the front line, okay. Getting into the heavy metal as the purple commander is now microing forward one of those ultra heavy tanks, and there we go. A commander already falls at its whim. Yeah, the Tsar is so brutal. Firing away here at the front line, and as long as there's vision for it, this Tsar is essentially uncontested, unmatched in the T1. or the early T2 game. There's really not a lot that can contest it. It'll shred T1 in just a couple of bursts, and of course,
Commander
against T2,
destroyed.
it's still fairly powerful as well. Another red commander falls over here. We're making huge progress. We're taking a lot of ground here, but ultimately, I don't know if we're getting any value out of it, right? These commanders are falling, and we're not really reclaiming. We do have res bots here for the player menu. Player team. Going ahead and reclaiming a whole bunch of this metal. Right now, the advantage... Who on earth is who? Okay, I just realized this bar is... Oh, there we go. Okay, so the, the red team is the brown bar, and the blue team is the gray-blue bar. Weird colors we've landed on here. Maybe it just averages all the colors between the two teams. I don't understand why you wouldn't just choose a hexadecimal value to make this menu, but I suppose we've averaged the menus here, and you get kind of a brown out of the red team and a kind of a blue out of the blue team. Oh, I love that about Beyond All Reason. You learn something new every single time you play it. Every time you break the rules, you learn exactly why they break where they did. Solar panels and a whole bunch of wind turbines powering out the units from this T2 laboratory. We're going to get a T2 con up and running. We already have that T2 moving forward for the red commander. Dual fusion reactor here. Okay, we're just greeding. We're just being a little greedster right now. We have another red commander. We have multiple red... Are these the same commander? Has Honkwaddle... No, it is a different commander. Okay, Ender Robo is there. Who's this right here? This is Rebel Node. So we've got multiple red commanders, all of which are well into their tech. And at this point, we're actually going to see Vanguards crawling their way creepily out of the laboratory. Still makes me a little uncomfortable seeing these. I almost feel like their gun needs to be, like, mounted backwards a little bit. Maybe not. Maybe it's fine. Can I do something like this? Oh, no. Hold on. It is kind of center mounted. It almost feels like it should be like, I don't know, the barrel should slide all the way back, or the gun should be mounted rearwards a little bit. Almost like a Hound, where the gun is basically on the entire rear of the unit. It's kind of how it feels like these should be. But anyways, that multi-legged beast crawling its way up the hills right here and going to be trying to start finding some value. You really won't have to work too hard. Loads of T1 units still on the field right here as we've got the fairest spread of poverty right now, as the front lines are war-torn and have virtually no money, while the backliners go ahead and eco up and scale into that T3 production. How's our anti-nuke situation looking? Decent coverage for the blue team. We've got most of the backline. You know what? Maybe like 40% coverage right here for the blue team. For the red team, I would say a little bit more than that. Probably closer to 50 or 60% coverage. Still a couple of bases uncovered by those anti-nukes. Still definitely quite a lot better, though. The APHIS economy has completely skyrocketed at this point. Do we have any metal bonus, by the way? Yeah, it looks like we did. 15 metal per second. I do believe that's more than what we were normally getting. 1.8 should be... Yeah, it's quite a bit more. 3.2 is actually giving 6.3, so it's almost 100% more. Or double, as some might say. Ender Robo hanging out here with the commander. Love that. You know what? A nice reclamation of this left-hand side. I think we're basically just waiting to tech up to T3 here before we push forward. There's some T2 units rolling out of the laboratory here, but frankly, nowhere near enough to stop a full-blown T3 push. A dozen Marauder, or maybe a couple of Razorbacks breaking through here would be huge. We've already killed so many of the commanders that there's... Well, you know, I say there's hardly any to worry about, but how do you really know that? With 33 commanders on the field, it's pretty difficult to tell where commanders will and won't be. A couple of Mantis included right here. These are really cool. The drone carrier platform for the Legion faction. They launch off those drones. When the enemy has anti-air, they're essentially a waste of metal. But when they don't, when you clear out that anti-air, they can provide a ton of vision into the distance, allowing your long-range units to actually fire off and be quite effective, including things like this Medusa, the heavy rocket launcher, firing a salvo of rockets out into the distance. Can't fire backwards, but it can fire on a very shallow angle. Oh, a nuclear missile does connect with the red team. Well, there we go. I was just talking about nuclear coverage, and it looks like the red team just barely didn't have that nuclear anti-nuke silo. Nuclear anti-nuke. They're an anti-nuclear silo. I think that's what I was trying to say. Up and running. And so we lose at least one base on the front line here. Looks like, yeah, maybe Rebel Node? No, Rebel Node's base is back here. I'm not even sure who we've lost. That's many commanders building as many bases as we can. We have. Yeah, we've got a huge coverage of anti-nuke at this point. Overlapping fields will leave a tiny area exposed in the midsection right here, but not the end of the world. The blue team, not exactly covered themselves. A lot of their front line is exposed. You can imagine a well-placed nuke here or here could crack open this front line. I mean, a whole bunch of units could swarm through. Easy for that to turn into a disaster later on in the game. Meanwhile, more eco scaling. We've got that good old-fashioned two fusions into an APHIS scaling here. Long held has been the debate of whether you go for 3 fusions or 1 fusion or 2 fusions. It looks like in this case Rebel Node preferring 2 fusions into an APHIS, and of course you need a lot of build power to build those APHIS as well. They have a build cost of, what is it, 312,000 build power? Quite expensive. Vanguard, not the quickest to fire, not the most damaging of all time, but very effective at just putting on the front line and just getting a ton of value, as you can see. Firing away into the distance and doing a great job of whittling down whatever they can find. We really need some Junos to clear up a lot of this radar jamming. Once those Junos have wiped away all the radar jamming, these Vanguard can really start to find their special sauce. Radar tower goes down. Any of that you can deny is really nice. We do have radar bots and radar jammers. We'll take a second to take a look at the brand new Legion, rather. Jammers and anti-jammer. Radar and anti-radar. They look like almost exactly the same chassis, just fitted with a different tool, which I think is a great detail. Yeah, it looks like that's, I mean, identically exactly what they are. Very cool to see, because frankly speaking, I feel like that's how it would happen in real life, right? Like, I feel like that's kind of... Yeah, I feel like that's absolutely how that would work in real life. You just build the platform, and then you attach it with whatever fittings that you want. A couple of these good old-fashioned Thanatos. The salvo rocket bots firing into the distance right here as TNT Remmer's in a whole bunch of trouble. We'll get some cinematic shots here as the Purple Commander is now jumped upon by a whole bunch of those rocket bots, which makes it very, very difficult here to defend against. One of those tremors out on the field, but not long shall it last, I fear. Vanguards, Thanatos, even Medusa's included in the composition here. Going to be difficult to hold on. Laboratory does fall. Can I do this? Is it this? There's some combination of keys that flips the camera. I don't think I've nailed it, though. Next time. Shotgunners trying to move forward here. Those Phalanx trying their very best. Not going to find too much value. Those Thanatos are so good. The salvo they fire is surprisingly high damage. We've come to, all things considered, a fairly even stalemate, except for the fact that the red team has about a 30% advantage across the board. Yeah, despite the gigantic advantage the red team has, a pretty even match, I would say. Yeah, we've just got to get that advantage and turn it into units or something on the field. Otherwise, it's not really going to be worth all too much. There's Neb, one of the developers that I've worked with quite closely, who did also just wrap up a tournament recently. Unfortunately, it actually happened to be on the exact same day as the 50K event. I've got some replays here. I need to figure out how to actually read those replays. A little bit of a nuclear collision on the hillside right there. Old man Young apparently up there for some reason. Does lose it all. Yeah, I've got a couple of replays from that tournament, so I'm excited to cast some of those. Beyond Horizon Fight Nights, in case you're interested in checking those out as well. All these have a Discord, which are definitely recommended. A lot of events to participate in nowadays. I think back to the early days when it was kind of like one event per year. Nowadays, there's pretty much every weekend there's something going on. And you can find it all right here at the Brightworks. Tune in. Stay tuned. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. I actually don't care if you like or dislike the video. I ran a test a long time ago to determine whether it matters, and it actually has an even slightly better outcome if you dislike this video. So dislike and subscribe. There you go.
Commander destroyed.
Take great pleasure in disliking this video. If you're a hater, you're very welcome among the Brightworks. I will block you because I don't want you spreading negativity, but you're more than welcome to dislike every video if you'd like. Totally fine by me if you go ahead and just do that.
Commander
Always happy to see
destroyed.
my videos, and by proxy Beyond Our Reason, spreading throughout the universe. Making its way into the RTS sphere of influence. Winter, when I was casting the games with Winter, brought up a pretty funny point, which is that Beyond Our Reason kind of sounds like a scam. Like, when you just read it at face value, it's a free-to-play game, thousands more units than you could ever get in something like StarCraft 2. Absolutely no pay-to-play, no pay-to-win, nothing like that. It is completely open source. The development is community-led. Like, you read that on paper, and it sounds like someone trying to scam you into downloading malware. It totally sounds like somebody's trying to scam you. And I hadn't even thought about that before, but yeah, Winter was totally right about that. I hadn't even thought about it because I played this game for so long, and I trust these developers so inherently. But yeah, it does sound a little suspicious. Maybe if you're ever selling this game to somebody, not, you know, if you're pitching this game to somebody, not actually selling it to somebody, maybe take that into consideration in your argument, is that you can verify it as not a scam. Actual software that does actual things. Yeah, red team just slowly but surely pushing back the blue here. It's the slow death. We have a Tyrannus out on the field here as well. Flying kinetic multi-weapon fortress. We have some of these good old-fashioned T1 swarm fighters as well, which are pretty cool. They are a fighter/scout drone. So they are a unmanned, unpiloted drone, and they have tons and tons of potential. They're super cool. Also learned that they're very good, actually. Into the late game, if you just spam them out. Oh, nice nuclear missile right there. Connects with a bunch of the frontline units for the red team.
Destroyed.
Just outside of that anti-nuclear, actually within the anti-nuke radius right here, there is another one. Almost managed to stop it, but doesn't look like it managed to fire just in time. Completely lost my train of thought about what I was talking about back there. How are the ecos looking? Red team, look pretty strong back here. This pink commander, who is the Shadow Whisper, doing a great job of building up a whole bunch of these APHIS and sending out a ton of energy. The blue team, on the other hand, I mean, not scaling poorly either. We've got some decent economy in the backline here. A little bit of a build power sharing, like communism sort of a thing going on here, and we do have those T3 units rolling out onto the field. At this point, though, I can't help but feel like there's enough room for the red team to push in. Kind of seems like all they need to do here. We're pinging this commander. I wonder why. Have we detected it? Maybe that we've detected this commander and we're going to go in for the kill. I can't help but feel like a couple of Razorback, maybe some Marauder, something like that, would be a huge advantage on the front line, and certainly enough to clean it up. Potentially the red team a little bit hesitant to send those units in for fear of the fact that if they lose them, it could be a huge issue. A couple of Javelin, one of my favorite units of all time. Little anti-air gun mounted on their rear backpack, and then of course their twin plasma throwers. Oh man, these things are cool. I love watching these things go to work. They pull out their twin miniguns and get right to work, firing away a hail of bullets. Karganeth up there on the hillside, super annoying to deal with. Oh no, those are defensive Karganeth. Wonderful. Like, the blue team is taking some heavy hits, but they're the first to get T3 effectively to the field. Like, we have some T3, we had some Vanguards and things like that, but that's not really what I mean by T3. I'm talking about Razorbacks, I'm talking about Marauders, I'm talking about Shiva or Karganeth. The real T3 brawlers, the ones that can trade out more efficiently than every other unit in the game. That's not really happening here. The red team with an impressive eco. Sometimes I like to just zoom out and appreciate the game from this angle. Look how beautiful. We do have some action on the front though, so we'll zoom back into that. Yeah, a couple of these what are they called? Javelin. Firing away right here with their twin miniguns. Look at them, the way they hold those guns too. Totally reminds me of Love, Death, and Robots, the farming mechs. I know a couple of you out there remember that and know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of my favorite mech media that I've seen recently. In recent years. I feel like if you're a fan of Beyond All Reason, you're kind of inherently a fan of, you know, mecha style anything. Suicide drones. Hey, dive bombing on top of a pilot right there. The commander goes down. I think it was a little overkill with the Martyr, but hey, you know what? No, they kind of killed it with the last couple of few. Yeah, maybe not. We've also got some of the brand new Legion units. Oh, these things are really good. The Charybdis? No, Myrmidon. That's right. I always forget the names. The Myrmidon with a long-range plasma launcher, an anti-air cannon thing, a dual drone launching platform. A very interesting support bot. With mobile drone power comes a lot of interesting uniquenesses. One of which, of course, being the fact that these things can scout for themselves effectively. They send their drones out as little scouts, and then they can fire very efficiently with their long-range plasma cluster cannons. But also just the fact that they proc a bunch of flanking damage whenever they're shooting at something, so you can activate a feature of the game that is otherwise quite a bit more difficult to deal with than otherwise. It's a weird one. It's a very, very weird kind of a unit, but I love it. I think it's awesome. I think it's totally Legion style. Weird. Weird and slightly off-putting. Nice defense over here. We do have the commander going for some D-guns. Frankly, unnecessary. Razorback and the Thor trying to push in. LRPC firing into the distance.
Commander destroyed.
Here we go. I saw damage on the other side of the field here. Whole bunch of demons have made their way into the backline. Now terrorizing, barbecuing the backline here on the blue team on the left-hand side. Bombers moving in to finish the job.
Has died.
I think this is suddenly a very quick end to a very beautiful game of Beyond Our Reason. Commanders falling left, right, and center. Those demons, not one to be trifled with. Very quick to kill a commander and APHIS, basically anything. Their DPS is unrivaled. Storm Kitty X goes down. Incinerator's also going to be, well, incinerated, ironically, as their name would imply. Oh my goodness, look at the damage. That was like 20% per second or something right there from those damage onto an incinerator. Probably the heaviest spot you can produce out of that T2 laboratory for Legion. Demons are crazy.
Destroyed.
Yeah, once you get a couple of these out, you can start to melt targets super, super quick. They're obviously very flimsy against, especially other T3, so there's sort of a... That's their big drawback, right? Is you have to use them in the right spot, at the right place, the right time. But if you do, their effect can be devastating. Downright devastating. Blue team in a little bit of trouble. Boom goes the APHIS, sends a huge chain reaction across the bases right there. Rippling across multiple Cyan commanders. Kind of funny that all the colors sort of more or less ended up in the same spot. Like the Cyans are all kind of on the same lane.
Destroyed.
I don't know. There's something to it, I'm sure. The way the spawns are or something like that. Yeah, there's got to be something to it. Flame's not repulsed by the plasma either. Another huge benefit. APHIS in trouble. Boom goes the APHIS. The demon goes down as well. But a beautiful snipe right there on that backline economy, and the blue team is now in shambles with a nearly 500% advantage. The developers, it turns out that all the experience making the game translates pretty good to experience playing the game and using the units there within the game. We also have a big old random units drop. This is kind of just a hodgepodge of random things that we could throw into planes. We're just moving them across the map for effectively the older reason of dropping them on the enemy because pretty funny. There we go. Stealth tanks, we've got some construction towers in there. I spy a Janus or two. Very funny stuff. Atomic bombers, ooh, going in. Boom goes the frontline eco as well right there. Pretty much a textbook masterclass on how to dismantle a team from the back forward. As always comes to pass, the left-hand side, the what do you call this? The hillside. I always struggle to come up with a name for that. The hillside here for the blue team is the first to fall. Well, not really. Actually, the front line had crumbled long before that, but the hillside was the one that died first. And then it opened up the door for a whole bunch of harassment through the back line into the heart of the red team, or the blue team here. Very absolutely not bad. Commander goes down, takes out a bunch of those stealth tanks. Is that an EMP bomber? I swear I heard an EMP bombing. Nuclear bombs away. Laboratory is destroyed. There it is. EMP bomber right there.
Has died.
Paralyzing whatever it can. This game has come to its finale. Sol Invictus, the experimental thermal ordnance mech. Microwaving its dinner. It will be brought low.
Commander
This pops.
destroyed.
Final commander goes down, and the red team take the win. Not sure what to expect here. The red team, the developers, knowing their units inside and out, how to leverage each and every single one of these into a very, very effective use, and I'd love to see it. And I hope you enjoyed this very chaotic, very crazy matchup beyond all reason. If you did, of course, feel free to check out the links all clipped down below to see how you can participate and enjoy some of these events as well. And I will see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.